let's start. I think we've got a full quorum of people, and let's start while other people join in. So, good afternoon, and on behalf of CIO&Leader, VMware, and Esconet Technologies, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's interactive discussion on the topic Architect Your Zero Trust Security Model. So before we begin the session, maybe we'll just take a minute to get to know the people who are participating in the discussion today. May I request everyone to just give their names and the organizations they represent. So maybe we can start alphabetically with Anuj. So go ahead, Anuj.
So pleasure being here, everybody, today. Good afternoon and good evening to you, depending on where you are. This is Anuj Tiwari. I work with TMF Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj. Would like to go next, Mr. Suresh Kumar, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Suresh Kumar. I am partner and CIO with Grant Thornton, India.
Welcome, sir. We have Nilendu. So may I ask Nilendu to introduce himself, please?
Hi, I am Nilendu. So I am part of Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. I head the IT infrastructure piece specifically. Thank you.
Welcome, Nilendu. I'll ask Abdul Rafi to just introduce himself. Abdul, if you could introduce yourself. I think he's temporarily dropped off. So maybe let me ask Rishi Rajpal to introduce himself.
I'm Rishi Agarwal.
Oh, you're Rishi Agarwal. Oh, so my apologies.
Yes. Yeah, Rishi is my colleague. Yeah. So I work for Concentrix.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Rishi. We also have Zubair Khan. May I ask Zubair to please introduce himself?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zubair. I'm AGM in Lohia Group and take care for network security, Azure, and SAP.
Thank you, Zubair, for introducing yourself. May I ask Shams Khan to please introduce himself?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sams, and I work in Shardulama Mangaldas. It's a legal firm in India, and I'm heading IT there.
So welcome, Sham. So this is great. We have a group of very knowledgeable group of practitioners and experts here today. And I really look forward to a very interesting and engaging discussion. So very quickly, just to set the context of why we are discussing this topic today. So I think all of us know that over the past 12 to 18 months, most organizations have been making a lot of changes to the way they are deploying, managing, and operating enterprise technology systems. So now users are everywhere. They're using a wide variety of devices to access all corporate networks and resources. And we are also seeing increasing volumes of data and applications being put on the cloud, and the growing use of new technologies like containers and serverless compute models. So we are seeing a kind of a confluence of a lot of change, a lot of digital transformation, a lot of change in the way users are accessing systems, plus the way we're using new technologies also. But the consequence of all this dramatic shift in the usage and deployment of IT is that enterprise perimeter has actually vanished. And so the challenge of protecting the enterprise assets and IP has increased tremendously. And traditional security technologies, which generally focus on protecting the enterprise network perimeter, are no longer adequate to protect the enterprise. So I think all of us here sort of realize that to remain secure and resilient, all enterprises need to rethink their security strategies and to implement new kinds of security paradigms like zero trust. So our discussion today will explore the limitations of the current security approaches and what can be done to improve the threat response and reduce operational complexity, even while retaining the required business agility and flexibility. So that's really what we'll try to cover today. So as we start, I would like to invite Santosh Agarwal. Managing Director and CEO of Esconet Technologies, to quickly introduce himself and his organization. Santosh is an experienced IT infrastructure and cloud technologies architect. He has over 20 years of experience in consulting and advisory services. So over to you, Santosh.
Thank you, Giri. So, a very good evening to all of you who have joined us today for this discussion. And we thank you for giving us time from your busy schedules. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Esconet to you. With experience in IT hardware and IT infrastructure, our primary focus is on cloud, servers, storage, virtualization, backup, disaster recovery, network, and network security business. Esconet has its legacy running back to almost 30 years now. Our clients trust us for the professional services delivery, although we have our clients majorly in North India. We are gradually strengthening our reach in other regions too, and hope to go pan-India with our cloud business. We have been recognized with the highest levels of partnership with VMware since 2012, and together we are bringing in sound opportunities in Northern India, successfully servicing clients for desktop and server virtualization, storage virtualization, network function virtualization, SD-WAN, and other products as they are being added by VMware in their portfolio. Some of the prestigious customers we have brought on the table for VMware are ONGC Videsh, Indian Army, Indian Navy, Bharat Electronics, Merino Industries, etc. People have been talking about zero trust approach to security for some years, and I believe now it is time to move towards a full implementation scenario, since it is more appropriate than ever in times of cloud business now, gaining more momentum than ever. And also because zero trust approach is rapidly gaining support from all security stakeholders, especially during the COVID-19 scenario when the world witnessed remote working and at scale and its necessity. With it, the realization of zero trust security being an inevitable reality that we all need to adapt to has also come in. Having said this, I believe we are yet to fully derive on the benefits of zero trust security approach and its implementation. So I'm looking forward to today's discussion and hope that we will get a fresh perspective on things and some great insights from the experts themselves. Over to you, Giri.
Thank you, Santosh. To set the context for the discussions today, I'd like to invite Kashyap Rastogi, he's account executive for network and security with VMware, to share his perspectives on the current state of cybersecurity and the new approaches that are being adopted by VMware to enhance security and business resilience. So Kashyap is currently managing the network and security portfolio for VMware, and he has in the past worked with organizations like IBM, Wipro, and Dimension Data as a techno-commercial subject matter expert for networking and security. So over to you, Kashyap.
Thanks, Giri, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedules. I'm hoping that the deck is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
I've been told I'll just take 10 minutes, and the objective is only to set the context, set the stage, and then seek the expert opinions of all the panelists on the subject matter. I'll not take more than 10 minutes. There are just 5 slides that I have today. I'll speak more and focus less on the deck. I have 3 quotes on my slide, and through these 3 quotes, I'll try to correlate to the subject. And the first quote goes like this: the only thing constant in life is change, right? So change is pretty much inevitable in our lives. And also Giri in his initial speech mentioned about how the world is changing in terms of IT, right? The world of IT has always been evolving and changing for the last couple of decades. Whether you see a move from a wired network to a wireless network, move from unmanaged switch to a managed switch, introduction of technologies like video conferencing, web conferencing. I mean, over the last couple of decades, things have been changing, right? In the last couple of years, there have been a lot of changes that we see. And I'll again categorize into 3 buckets here. The first bucket is the user space. All your users who were there in their office earlier have now moved out. They are working from home. there are BYOD devices, there are IoT devices. So a lot of things changing in the user space. The second space is the data center space, which was always an on-prem data center. Now there are SaaS applications coming in. There are infrastructure as a service coming in. There are AWS, Azure, GCP kind of players. So your on-prem data center has now changed to a multi-hybrid cloud kind of a setup. The second change, right? So user space, data center space. And the third space is your applications. The applications, which were earlier on bare metal, first moved to virtualized environment. And then from VMs, it moves to containers. All your monolithic applications are gradually moving onto the microservice architecture. So applications, data center, and user space, three different areas, all changing simultaneously. Now, changes are good. Changes are good for business. All your functions like marketing, finance, everybody is happy, right? Because these kind of changes will support the business in terms of cost optimization, in terms of improving the efficiencies, and many other ways. So everybody in the business is happy because of change. But the people in IT and security, they get the responsibility with these changes, right? The responsibility to ensure that the changed new environment is secure enough. And with those changes comes the challenges. Now, when we talk about challenges, I'll move to my second quote for today, or the second statement. One single vulnerability is all what an attacker needs. And we all agree to this, right? There's just one open point, one vulnerability. The attacker comes into your environment and then literally moves across and demolishes your entire landscape, right? In your traditional security model, it was all perimeter driven. So your users were inside a perimeter in an office space. The applications were again inside a perimeter in a data center. But all these three changes that we spoke about, because of this, the perimeter is all gone, right? And now everything is open. With this, there are a lot of new vulnerabilities coming in. There are a lot of new open points coming in, and the attacker can easily get in. Because of this, what happens is, A, the attacker will get multiple entry points, and B, if the attacker gets in, then he can laterally move within your environment, and you're not aware because you are only protecting the perimeter, right? So protecting the perimeter is saying like within a society or within your office space, your guard is all vaccinated, right? And you're checking everybody coming in, so you're COVID-free. That is not the case. All your employees, all your residents should be vaccinated, right? The security has to be at every point, rather than saying that we are only providing a perimeter security. With that, I'll move on to the third point. In cybersecurity, the more systems that we secure, the more secure we are. And which was our earlier statement. The example of COVID that we just used right now, it's not only the perimeter that needs to be secured. With this all new landscape where everything is changing, now you need to ensure that all your systems are secured, all your entry points are secured, and that is the entry points. The second piece is the lateral movement. Now, if an attacker gets in, one should always be ready saying that I can contain and quarantine that particular thing to a certain zone, rather than allowing it to move freely within the network space or within the environment. So that is that was just to set the context, saying that what all is changing. Because of these changes, what is the challenge coming in and how we should ideally address it at a very high level overview. In my next slide, whatever we discussed, I'll just pictorially describe the same. So on the left-hand side, what you see is the user space, your on-prem users, BYOD users, work from home users, IoT users, and all. In the center is the data center, SaaS applications, public cloud providers. And on the right is your VM application, VM space or the container space, right? So what we mentioned right now is all these three elements are changing. There are several points which can be attacked because of the changes. It's not only a perimeter now. The perimeter has gone, right? Because of which there are different points where the attacker can still attack. And that is what we really need to secure. Now, the way we look at it from a zero-trust security. So because now there is nothing that you can trust. You cannot trust your endpoints. You cannot trust your workloads. The malware can be anywhere, right? So when you do not trust anybody or any element within your system, that is how the concept of zero-trust security came into picture. And broadly defining, on this slide, I'm just broadly defining zero trust security into two domains. The first domain is secure the user to cloud access, which is fondly called as zero trust network access, right? Where you ensure that the endpoints are secured, you ensure that the network is secured. And the second is, if in case the malware gets in, then you secure the app-to-app access. So within your application, within your data center, the malware does not spread, which is a zero trust application access. And how it is defined is that zero trust network access would be essentially endpoint security, device management, or secure access, which is also called SASE, right? We love to talk about SASE, the secure access service edge, in terms of how do you resist, how do you control the access of users to the cloud. And when you look at the zero trust application access, it's more to do with the workload security, more to do with the cloud edge security. And obviously the talk of the town is advanced threat prevention, the anti-malware, XDR kind of solutions. So both combined, the network access and the application access put together completes the end-to-end zero trust, right? So just a pictorial view of whatever we discussed about the challenges. How are we really looking at, in a very broad level view, how are we trying to address the zero trust security piece? I'll just move on to my last slide and then open for the discussion. My last slide is more to talk about that VMware is not new to security, right? Probably a surprise for a lot of people, but it's more than $1 billion business for us today. And majorly we have acquired, we have grown our security business through different acquisitions. There are plenty mentioned here. I'll just focus on three of these. The first is Carbon Black, which has always been a leader in the endpoint security space. So we discussed three pieces: endpoint, we discussed about access, and we discussed about the application to application security, right? On the endpoint, we have Carbon Black, which we acquired a couple of years back, which is a leader in EDR and workload security solutions. Then we have VeloCloud, which has been with us for almost more than 7-8 years, a leader in SD-WAN, and now even a homegrown SASE solution to manage the access part. And the last is Lastline. Lastline, I'm sure most of you would have heard about Lastline, has always been a leader in the NDR space. So the network detection and response space, which is the within the application kind of security. So double clicking on Lastline just for one more minute. While we look at the Z-tab, or what we call application access, as a three-step approach. We do micro-segmentation, which is a firewall, a distributed firewall within the VM space. Then we do a distributed IDPS, which is again in the VM space for your known threats, for your signature-based threats. And then we have now, with the Lastline acquisition, unknown zero-day threats kind of security solution. So these are the three elements: the end user space, the access mechanism, and the application to application security, the application security piece. So that is just to set the stage about how we look at zero trust security, how VMware is approaching this particular market. With that, I'm handing it over back to Giri. Giri, I hope I'm back in time.
Yes, thank you so much, Kashyap, for those insights and for setting for concisely summarizing where we are at with in terms of security and what are the principal challenges that are there. So let me quickly introduce Mr. Ajay Khanna from VE Commercial Vehicles, who has also joined us. Hello, Ajay, and welcome to this roundtable meeting. And
Hello,
I
Giri.
understand you are traveling, so.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, we also have Nakul Chopra, who has joined us. So Nakul is the lead data protection, privacy and data governance with EY. So welcome, Nakul. So let me get on with my first question to this group, and perhaps I'll ask Mr. Suresh Kumar to start off. The first question I have is, what are the top 3 cyber security threats that you are dealing with in terms of an organization?
Okay. So good evening, everyone. So, I think very briefly about Grant Thornton, we are one of the leading consulting advisory firms, professional services firms, and present in more than 100 countries across the globe. And in terms of our I would rather first start with we are one of the first firms in India who kind of gave the option of work from anywhere to our people. And while it was necessary, and with the various lockdowns happening and people feeling many people feeling uncomfortable traveling and all to offices, so we gave the option of work from anywhere to everyone. Okay, without any don't come to office unless it is extremely important. And the second thing, again on the people side, our firm decided to give unlimited leaves to our people. So last year, we found that especially in the initial period of pandemic, nobody had seen such a thing in the past. So it had quite a lot of impact on the mental health of people, and people were not at all taking any breaks. Contrary to some people in the initial stage times were thinking that okay, there could be loss in productivity, but I think at least we observed the productivity had actually increased a lot. So we had to force our people to take breaks. Okay, so we said okay, take leaves. Even if you can't go anywhere, just don't do anything. Stay away from your laptops or your work. Okay. The challenge is, in terms of, as you rightly started with, Girdhar and Kashyap, you both, with the pandemic, suddenly it had become the office perimeter is gone. So earlier we had, say, 14 offices in India, and now suddenly we had some 6,000 offices. So everyone is a separate office. So each individual, each person working from home or working from any place is like a separate office. So we the as a IT leader, you don't have to you not only have to take care of the office perimeter, which is now hosting only few places hosting the data centers. So there you need the protection, but more importantly, you need endpoint security at each and every users, because that becomes a separate entity. So the challenges primarily facing with whether the users will behave appropriately in such an environment, and stay secure while they are in their leisure time they are accessing any say movies or any such media, whether they will be able to identify any you know risky links, okay, to be to say. So we had laid a lot of focus. It was prior to pandemic also, because we had many people constantly working from field as consultants. So IT security, information security awareness training, so we have quite a extensive program, global program, and people have access to that, and they are made to, each and every person is made to attend at least one of the current training programs every quarter, be at whatever level, trainee or a partner, doesn't matter. You all have to do. So that helps in terms of creating the awareness. Secondly, we had endpoint security in terms of not only the antiviruses, but also vulnerability management. So we have integrated vulnerability management solution that keeps scanning each and every device on our domain, not only on our not on network, but on our domain. So it keeps scanning and identifies in real time which are the devices which could be vulnerable and how to isolate them and take action. Then, of course, the threat of any compromise to the data center itself or to the cloud resources. Some of our apps are already on cloud, like not only Office 365, but some of our business applications are on cloud, hosted on Azure and AWS. So to have a security, accessing, first is to protect the resources and how to access those resources securely from an end user. I think these were some of the challenges which we have.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So Anuj, I want to put this question to you. As someone who's been involved a lot with the cybersecurity space for many years, how has the threat scenario sort of changed or evolved in the past 6 to 12 months? And what are the reasons for this change?
So, Giri, thank you. By the way, great question. I think you're right. The context has evolved recently, much more than before. And I think this is primarily pivoted because of COVID-19, because of the work from anywhere and people being in remote places. So I think historically, as we would have known of defense to always be whether defense in depth and perimeter security being one of the key elements of the defense in depth, which is now rapidly gone away, as Kashyap and Suresh and everybody also pointed out rightfully. So as those perimeters have fallen off, what really I have seen transform or morph is a couple of aspects. One, since the perimeter is gone and the way we had always thought of security has changed, identity security is something that is a big key today. What used to be a basic hygiene in terms of simple aspects like joiner, mover, lever processes, and I'm touching literally the grassroots, but these are ground realities, are something that still are not very effective in organizations. Hence, if we continue thinking of everything from a compliance approach, where we are trying to trust but verify, those approaches are not working anymore. What that trust and verify has changed into is trust, but always verify, which is what the grassroots of zero trust really is. Whether it's the identity, whether it's the device, whether it's the data itself. We heard people talk about the workloads, the containerization, the move to the cloud. And again, combining that with the infra or the network. So I think the big morph has definitely been in the recent past. Primary driver being remote working. And then a couple of elements that I would also bring to the table is think of aspects like data sovereignty. Think of aspects like people having data now more on their local desktops and endpoints, rather than them being centrally controlled at places. So these are a couple of elements which really have been playing a pivotal point about how zero trust has been looked upon, and the move from trust but verify versus trust but always verify, my 2 cents.
You make a good point, the trust but always verify. I think and the move away from just compliance to actually, implementing or to put it into regular practice. I mean, we'll come to that point also, because I think that's a very important point that you have brought, and I'll just park it for a minute. And I'd like to ask Shams Khan, what do you think are the, main cybersecurity threats that you are dealing with, and how do you think, this has changed in the past, 12 to 12 months or so?
Yeah, hi. For us is not quite big change because we are already into the virtualized and centralized environments almost last 17, 18 years. But it's, of course, it doesn't matter. Even it's cybersecurity is important for us. So for us, it's more about to looking for the outsourced managed services for the SOC and all. That was it's very important, and also get the managed services for our infrastructure or EDR solution, something like that. So the managed services for infra as well as the SOC services for the SIM solution and all. That is the change for us for this year. Yeah. Thanks.
So do you see any significant security problems because of that?
No, we don't find any security problems, but it's just a security enhancement. We are finding that our internals, the resource which we have, they are not suffice to do the managed services for either is a EDR or it's the SIM solution. So we find it's a better to go to have a third-party managed services which can have a 24/7 and as a more effective cost, and they are also expert and focused for that work only. And here into the inside organization, they are doing the multiple work along with the managed services monitoring and all that, which we are feeling some gap and there. So it's important to have that. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that, Shams. I think it's very useful point that you have brought up that, because of the change environment, we now need to look at additional skills or additional resources or additional expertise to be able to handle the security issues because of the way we are now using the services. I think it's a very important point, that you have brought. So thank you so much for
since we already have the BUID things and the centralized the environment for the virtual user. So anywhere work and all the infra is already with us since last 17, 18 years. So not new for us. But as you said, the resource and the the more skills and the managed services is going to be a very hot, and you have to work towards that more. Thank you.
Thank you. So, now Zubair is on screen. So I'm going to ask Zubair to also comment about, the threat scenarios and the challenges you are facing on the security side. What are those and how are you managing them?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Girdhar. At present, if I talk about the current challenges, what we are facing in terms of the threat, majorly we are facing threat from the phishing mails. Especially, we have 365 environment for all our group where we are using cloud mail. We face a lot of phishing mails by the hackers, and they try to steal the individual information. And that is one. The other one, we face DDoS related things for which we somehow manage by applying the DDoS configuration through the ISPs. And then we have a little bit fear with the top management because they use some machines or computers where we don't protect by applying the admin right, not to allow them to install anything, this kind of thing. And nowadays they are using their device in the open areas like their home, like in hotels, all that. So we have some worry on that if somehow if that the attack and that can create a mishap in our internal network, how we can avoid those things. So we are working because due to pandemic, the things have changed a lot at present. So these are some challenges through which we are going, and we are doing our best to come out from these challenges. And nowadays, due to this COVID situation, a lot of people started using the video conferencing facilities. And now the ISPs also has a lot of load on that. The bandwidth utilization is not proper, which we can manage it with the current devices like firewall and the load balancer. So recently we tie up with VMware. We implemented Velo Cloud SD-WAN technology. So we are a little bit on the better position. So we can use the video conferencing. And we are also going through that phase to implement for other locations also. So these are the major challenge. One is the security, second is the connectivity.
I think you brought about a very important observation that, with by using new kinds of application, the throughput or the bandwidth is also going up. And so therefore the ability to protect the infrastructure
Yes,
also increases significantly, because now you have to upgrade everything to be able to
yes, you are right.
handle just the load.
If we talk about the present scenario, every user, if he's above manager, he's using, he's spending more than 2 hours every day on the call. Either it is chatting with the colleague internally or externally or consultant or whatever it is. But as on a grounder level, I'll say that minimum 2 hours is spending on the video call.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Zubair, for bringing up some very interesting points on, relating to security. And now we can see how that ties in with, the kind of usage that we are having. I'd like to ask Rishi Agarwal to come in and, to talk a little bit about, again, you are a services organization. So what are the challenges that you see in terms of security?
Yeah, sure, Giri. Good evening, everyone. So I have, little bad throat, bad cold. So
yeah, whatever you could do, please. Yeah.
So basically, we are into service industry area, and as you know, we are among the top 2 ITES company in the world, and we serve clients in like all the sphere of business. And the key challenge, or I would say, the industry is facing, not just the service industry but other industries also, like ransomware, phishing, and especially after this pandemic, work at home has become a very prominent kind of service delivery model, wherein we cannot allow our resources to come to office and they are operating from home, which again opened a Pandora of cyber security threat for the organization. And it is a hybrid kind of work environment. Earlier, as we said, the perimeter security, we always talked about, you secure your perimeter, your network is secure, your infrastructure is secure, but that is no more applicable. Also, what we have seen, the threat actors have become more advanced. You must have seen a lot of ransomware attack, and the kind of phishing attack, the kind of emails we get, it becomes very difficult to identify whether it is a genuine email or it is a phishing email. And you tend to, you assume that it is a genuine email, you click on some link, and then, you compromise your entire network, entire data. So also, since it is a completely integrated global organization, so it takes very fast to spread all across. And for security organization, MTTR, like mean time to respond, becomes very shorter, because you cannot wait, you have to respond immediately. Otherwise, there is huge risk, and there is a risk of not just it is reputation risk, it is financial loss, and which you cannot count. And we hear so many such incidents very frequently nowadays. Also, our kind of organization have invested hugely in endpoint security. Like we also we have hired like threat intelligence, so that also helps in identifying what are the threats, what are the new ransomware there, so that we could prepare ourselves in a very proactive manner. Also, like we have, say, zero tolerance towards any incidents. It is not that every small incident is handled with highest priority. So we are very, very sensitive, because as you know, we serve a lot of third party customers. It is not that our data, our infrastructure is exposed to our client, and we work on clients' very, very sensitive data. So we have zero tolerance towards all these even small incidents. Also, like we have been conducting educations for users, like how to handle, say, any phishing kind of email, how to handle any threat, how how they have to act upon if they smell any non-genuine thing. So that is how we have been working to protect ourselves. Also, the topic is like zero trust, and zero trust is like, it is not that we don't trust our employees, but we have to like inspect our traffic, whether it is incoming to our office or outgoing, and it is like inspecting at every step. So it is very, very important. Also, like there are so many things, so many traffic which you need to inspect. Also, like zero trust is not just a technology. I would say it is like a framework. If even say background check is also very, very important for your employees to during hiring. So if someone has got, if someone is coming from a background, which is not appropriate, and then he may also damage. So there are various things which we have to take care of while managing security in today's environment.
Yeah, thank you, Rishi. I think you've given us a very comprehensive overview of what a large organization like Cognizant is doing, and very definitely, you have some very advanced practices, to put in place to take care of many of these threats. So it was very helpful to know, some of the steps that you are taking. And you have mentioned, and towards the closing about zero trust. So I just want to switch the topic a little bit towards zero trust and ask Nilendu. So Nilendu, how do you think zero trust is, or the zero trust paradigm is helpful?
So hi, I'm listening to everyone. So it's definitely going to help any organization. Even if you ask me about the banking sector specifically, so there are, rightly said, there are offices now. We have every individual is an office right now. So the thing is, we have definitely this zero trust, two-factor authentication. So these all things are required. So we when we talk about privilege access, so what exactly how we have to control them, that is important for every organization. You have given laptops to each and every person. People in banking sector, nobody who believed earlier that people will work from home, and now the scenario is altogether changed. Even RBI knows it very well, that now that we cannot compromise on the security part as well when people working from home. So that is an important thing. And when we talk about control usage of data, it's not just now we're not don't talk about only access. So stop threats from moving within your network. That is also very important thing, and continuously know who is creating the risk. So that is an important factor. If you ask, our bank is definitely more robust on the security framework, NAC solutions we have. We don't allow any unauthorized access to any of the systems and all. So security is most important, and zero trust, yes, is most important thing in any banking sector. That is specifically, I can talk about banks right now. So yes, it's a very important thing.
Yeah, thanks, Nilendu. I'll just ask Kashyap to come in for a minute and give his observations.
Thanks, Giri. Wonderful observations, wonderful inputs shared by all the panelists. We have heard Mr. speaking about enabling work from anywhere. We have heard about identity security by Mr. Anuj. Talks about phishing emails. Majorly, we have been talking about the endpoint security piece, right? Because suddenly there is a huge surge in the work from anywhere kind of an environment. So endpoint security definitely is important, but that is only to disallow and the elements to get in, right? But what about just a food for thought for everybody? What about if the malware gets in? How do you stop it from moving across? As of today, with the perimeter security, you trust everything within your environment, right? The zero trust principle is do not trust anything. Do not trust your workload or applications. Don't let it spread. We at VMware do 3 steps. We do a micro segmentation for east-west security. We do a distributed IDPS for known vulnerabilities, and we do a zero-day threats for through using our XDR story. So spreading and stopping the lateral movement within the east-west security. Just a thought to share.
Thanks, Kashyap. So maybe I'll ask Ajay to come in. I think he's probably now in the office. Better place.
Just want to add one thing on this. So when we talk about VMware, we use VMware very effectively, being a CSXI or Horizon. So yes, they are our partners, and also because of that, it is the security threat got reduced a lot on that perspective. So that helps definitely. Thanks.
So Ajay, but what I want to ask you is that have you implemented a zero trust kind of paradigm in your organization, or are you moving towards it? Where are you?
See, from a endpoint protection perspective, yes, we have implemented a great deal of solutions from a zero trust perspective. But if you look at it from a holistic angle, a zero trust is simply, I would say probably it would take much more than implementing just the solutions or technical technologies to eventually get zero trust in a domain. Our domain is very expanding. So we have, if you look at from our operations, we have somewhere about 400 dealer locations all across from where people connect in. Now my solutions, we are migrating into the cloud. We are moving from on-premise to cloud. So now my security will move from on-premise to on the cloud security. Now I'll need to re-architect my entire security architecture, looking at solutions from that perspective. I cannot look at protecting each and every equipment or a device of a dealer network. Okay, however, I have to ensure my security of my critical systems is essential, and my perimeter is now restricted around that particular area, which is handling my critical systems, critical applications. So in a way, yes, somewhat of zero trust security we have implemented. The important thing for us is to be vigilant in this current environment. It is ever evolving. The threats are ever evolving. I've been reading on in the news every now and then the kind of new threats which are emerging, which one would have not even imagined about, okay, which are almost realistic. I don't know whether zero trust security will be able to address that or not, but these are not only limited to organizations, these are basically extended to personals, financial accounts of individuals, users who are working within the organization, who are working outside, who are outside of your organization also, but they are in some way associated with you. So it is more about being vigilant. It is more about being aware about the surroundings. People need to be aware about it. We've been doing a lot in terms of making people aware. We have programs, monthly programs on security awareness through videos, through modules. We have phishing exercises which are conducted every 6 months. Maybe we'll increase those frequencies now. And we've seen the trend is changing. The people are getting aware. The people, once they see somebody known in their circle is impacted by things, it creates more alertness in their environment. From an organization perspective, we are, I would say, also looking at certain other additional solutions apart from what all phishing solutions that we have deployed, advanced phishing threat protection solutions. It is a never-ending exercise. So for us, more than getting into a zero trust, I would say it is going beyond the zero trust. It is going into predictive model of threat analysis or threat understanding, what kind of threats are likely to come up in the near future, and be prepared for that.
Thank you, Ajay. I think you made a couple of very interesting points about even going beyond zero trust. The second thing is which digital transformation and adopting new technologies, the need to re-architect the way security itself is done. I think those were two very important points that you made, and I think the group can will appreciate bringing these points forward as worth considering, since everybody is doing a lot of digital transformation. So when you do digital transformation, probably the old models, the old assumptions around security also would need to change, because you just can't apply the same things to a new way of operating. I'd like to ask Abdul Rafi. So Abdul, please come in, and we'd like to have your views about zero trust, and where do you think it fits in the way into your organization? What are you doing around it?
Hi, Giri. Good afternoon. Good evening, rather.
Yeah,
I'm in the media house. The HO is in Kolkata. So it's a big house. So in media, you all know that the information data is power. So somehow we need to protect our data, whether it's mobile or whether it is in rest. So data is the key concern for any media house. So if you talk about the security to protect this data or server or solution or application, we have implemented multiple solutions within perimeter, beyond perimeter. So within perimeter is a very common thing, that is a endpoint solution. Previously, it was only antivirus. Now it is reframed as endpoint solution. It consists of AV, anti-malware solution, and other stuff. And obviously, within perimeter, we have a next-gen firewall and maybe anti-APT solutions and similar kind of various security solutions we generally place into within the perimeter. But beyond perimeter, in fact, within within this 2 years, this pandemic years, users are working from home. In media also, editors, journalists, in fact, advertisement sales and marketing team and circulation team members, they're also working from home. So the concern is beyond the perimeter. So whether we are working from home or anywhere and connecting to our office, that means we're connecting to our application server or the file server or the digital library server. This is the concern. So here we have, yes, we have implemented a zero trust solution, but as Ajay said, told that it is not only to implement or install a zero trust solution into individual machine, individual laptop, desktop, or server. It is something else. It's a cultural change, because human being, we generally trust each other. So that's the basis of a relationship. So it's very difficult to implement such kind of thing. So when we started this work from home journey, initially we didn't have this kind of solution. So we believed in that normal traditional VPN only. But gradually, maybe within a couple of months, maybe within, I think, end May 2020, because we are looking for some zero trust solutions like XYZ. I should not take any name. And it was very difficult for us to implement remotely, to implement a zero trust solution remotely. And somehow we need to manage those remote laptops from the HO office and install and implement something XYZ solution. It was tremendous activity. And during that time, especially from editorial side, we got resistance. So why this kind of solution you are installing? And then there are several layers, and I cannot access this server. Initially, when I was in an office, we had everything in an access list. Now you are not giving access to XYZ, etc. So yes, it's a cultural change. It's very difficult to implement such kind of thing. We should have enough time to engage those users, those remote users or critical users, and do various kind of workshop. So what is zero trust? It's not only a buzzword, it's something else. But now everyone is satisfied. Everyone is working from various location, and we're quite satisfied on that. So this is zero trust solution. So this is not enough. So having the logs of this activities from the remote users, we have SIEM and disruption technologies in place. So this logs of the transactions from this endpoint laptops to servers, this is very important. We should have a proper analysis on those logs, how these machine endpoints are connecting to HO server, file server, application server. That is very important. Is there any gap? Is there any, sorry, is there any malicious intent in the transactions? That we should know. Apart from the traditional SIEM activity like getting correlated activities, etc. So that's a common thing. But someone has to, or some solution has to read those logs or translate those logs in a dashboard form to understand what is going on. So just implementing a zero trust solution is not enough. So that's my view.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Abdul, for some of those very important observations, particularly talking about implementation challenges when it comes to putting in a zero trust environment, because it involves cultural change. So I'd like to get Nakul to quickly offer his views on zero trust. So Nakul, can we have you come in, please? Nakul, we are not able to hear you. Okay, I guess he's having some difficulty. So since we are coming close to the end of our time for this meeting, I'd just like to ask Kashyap to do some quick summing up of some of the points that were made today. So over to you, Kashyap.
Thanks, Giri. I'll start off with another quote, right? I've used 3 quotes in my earlier presentation. I just say one quote. It's a very famous quote saying that there are only 2 types of companies. One which have been hacked, and the other which will be.
Which don't know they are being hacked.
So eventually, yes, security is of important essence. The best that we can do is get the right amount of security, secure more and more systems with the new changes that is happening. Again, endpoint, the way you access your applications and your application in itself should be secured. We have got very important views and majorly talking about how work from anywhere and all this pandemic has brought in the challenge of security, which is true. But also, we should also be looking at what if the perimeter is breached? What if the attack comes in? How do we stop that from demolishing? There are various methods. People have spoken about anti-APT solutions. People have spoken about firewalls and all. Just a food for thought. How about just imagine how about within your virtualized environment, within your vSphere, within your ESXi, you have a firewall built in, you have an IDPS built in, you have an XDR solution, right? XDR basically, and somebody pointed out, Mr. Ajay pointed out about threat analysis, about zero-day threats. So unknown threats coming in, you use XDR both at the endpoint and at the network end to get rid of your zero-day threats. You use sandboxing, you use benchmark, NTA, traffic analysis, all that within your vSphere base itself. Sounds interesting. If it does, I'll probably want to have a discussion with you sometime.
Thank you, Kashyap, for offering one viable solution to the problem. I encourage everyone to get in touch with Kashyap and to see if some of those solutions are of interest. And I'm sure Santosh will also help connect with Kashyap, and they'll be happy to do some of these demos so that you can see these technologies in action. So with that, we'll come to the end of this discussion. I would really like to thank each one of you for your thoughts, views, and opinions. It has really helped to gain new insights on how to approach the concept of a zero trust model of security. So thank you once again from CIO&Leader, VMware, and Esconet for contributing to this very enriching session. We look forward to being in touch and have a great evening.